Hey guys, Ponce here to talk to you guys about something rather interesting that I've experienced over the past week or two playing on the League of Legends Classic mode, and that is the massive skill differential that seems to exist between players in the bottom lane, coming from the perspective of someone who's been playing support a lot. Uh, for reasons we can perhaps go into another day, but let's not talk about why I've been playing support. Regardless, even back in the day, and I'm sure this probably holds true in Modern League, there is a pretty big skill differential with just things all over the place in bottom lane on account of just being two people as opposed to solo lanes. Um, but this just seems even more extreme, probably because it just requires a bit more time for the mode to gel and MMRs to settle and average out, etc., etc. However, um, just the sheer range of AD carries I've been experiencing in terms of who I've been playing with is just so massive that I kind of want to talk about perhaps how to deal with that in the time being. Because I've gotten AD carries ranging from I literally don't know how to CS, like they'll miss everything and et cetera, to like actually legitimately very skilled AD carries in some games and everything in between. Although the average tends to skew a bit lower. So obviously well, not obviously, but I suppose the first thing you really need to do is if you find yourself in that sort of position as a support who's slightly above the pay grade, I suppose, of the lane that you've found yourself in, is just how much is that AD carry capable of? Like, what part of the spectrum are they in? And is there anything you can kind of work with at all in the sense of is it worth staying or is it not worth staying, sort of thing? Because some games I've found if you just stick with the bottom lane that whole time, you don't actually end up making a difference. Like the AD carry is going to die regardless and miss every single CS regardless. So at that point, you're just like, okay, I got to get enough money so I can get maybe some boots and maybe some GP5 gold generation and just start roaming and look for the lanes that can carry. Now, granted, this isn't, I suppose, that different from a standard support strategy of, roaming is frequently encouraged and very good, but perhaps a bit more aggressive hardline version of that. It's like, okay, I'm just cutting my losses. We're abandoning bottom totally. They might be screwed, but they were screwed anyway. I can maybe do something else. Then there's sort of, missed EQ combo. You're seriously talking about the right thing to do, and I'm screwing it up on screen. But anyway, where was I? I shouldn't interrupt myself like that. No, there's sort of like hybrid lanes to a degree, I guess, where if you know your AD carry is not very good or outclassed, but you can kind of help them survive, you can modulate your playstyle to a degree. So, for example, I tend to be a very aggressive support. Like I support by making sure the enemy can't harass, and when I can't do that, it definitely feels like I'm wasted, sort of my particular personal talents. But I can do a thing where I'm like, okay, this AD carry gets confused if I do something aggro and will think it's always time to attack or something. So obviously you can communicate with them, but let's not pretend communication is a good option in this game. So what I'll tend to do is I'll just sort of hang back more. I'll use my abilities much more defensively. So for example, in the example of an Alistair here, instead of going for the aggressive EQ combo, I'm just going to sit here and wait for the enemy to try and jump onto the AD carry and then harass. Or sorry, not harass, and instead just like reactively use my headbutt to push people away or stuff like that. Again, not ideal, but sometimes you just kind of have to do what's not ideal, I suppose. And for example, even if you have the perfect opportunity to go and you're like, okay, if I get any kind of follow up whatsoever, and I can perfectly CC the opponent, this is the right plan, it might end up actually being the wrong plan because the person you're playing with just is simply not on that level to do that kind of thing. So, sort of an example here on the screen. But in any case, I've personally found it's just a lot of the games that I've been on Classic, so again, this is kind of Classic specific, is that I just sort of have to start hard roaming a lot of the time. Like you just have to cut your losses, much more so than in previous iterations of League that I've played. And in doing that, I found a lot more. Not only have I found more success, because there tends to be other lanes where there's sort of that kind of mismatch in terms of skill level. So, for example, our mid lane is way better than the enemy mid lane, so I'll just keep ganking mid lane, and then we'll play off the mid lane player or something like that. but not only that, but it's also just kind of like it's good for your sanity. I think I like to think I'm an extremely patient person, but you know, when you're playing multiple hours a day, every day, and you watch your AD carry constantly just miss CS over and over and over, it just starts to kind of like wear at your brain. You're just like, I don't want to play anymore. So you just have to like not look at that, and then perhaps travel to parts of the map which are less annoying to look at. So, yeah, well, I suppose on a final point, it's not just purely the skill of the AD carry. There are instances where just like the AD carry might be running into situations they're not familiar with, and they're not the worst in the world, but they can't perform given the specific context. Or for example, the game that we're showing, you're not going to see all of it because this is just, I left something playing in the background that was a loose example of a lot of things I was talking about, or ended up being a lot of things I'm talking about. But they had like a kill lane bottom. It's like, what was it, Pantheon and Jax. So it was something silly and gimmicky, which is very easy to deal with. But like, if you don't know how it works, then it can just kind of confuse you. So, for example, our Vayne, like this is not a shame the Vayne video or anything like that. It's just I think what happened was Vayne wasn't terrible. She sort of knew how to CS. Definitely not the worst. Not great, but not the worst. And I think it really threw her off her game. So that's why I decided to roam pretty hard. So, yeah, that's kind of, I suppose those are my thoughts on the matter. Not much more to say. Hope you guys found this interesting. I'm not going to let this video play out. Like, spoilers, we won, but it was just kind of an annoying game all throughout. But again, I made it a lot less annoying on myself by deciding it's time to roam. The Vayne can't really handle this lane. Good luck. Have fun. So thanks for watching. I'll see you guys around, and I'm off to go probably stream more Classic. Goodbye.